We have a particular Strat today. We have this particular pedal board. Let's get some cool Floyd sounds. Hey everyone, Keiran here, and again joined by my friend and colleague Ray. After you joined me for the last Edge video where we got some
did a little bit of edging earlier.
Very cool tones on that, and I'm not going to say that again as well because we're a PG channel. But Ray's joined me today because we had a look in our warehouse where we're based by the studio here. We noticed we got a restock on these particularly nice Player Series Stratocasters. Now, these are FSR models, which stand for Fender Special Run, meaning that they don't usually make these ones. Now, to, I guess, rip the bandage off quite early.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're going to have a black Strat with white hardware and a black pickguard, and you like your classic rock, it's hopefully quite clear who the inspiration is for this one.
Pretty obvious in terms of what it, obviously the setup is. Very classic guitarist. We're talking about David Gilmour, of course, from Pink Floyd, if you didn't understand. Maybe with some of the pedals that we've combined them with today as well, that may give it away. But to give a very kind of brief overview of this guitar, as we said, sort of paying homage more than anything. It's not a direct signature model. It's not, you know, inspired by in terms of specs and whatnot. The biggest thing is really the aesthetics. So if we do just want to call it a black on black Strat, white, obviously like pick covers and
the reverse tuxedo, as they might call it.
Exactly, yeah. This is hearkening all those feelings, but in with itself, it is a really spec'd up Player Strat because it is loaded with Fender custom shop Fat 50s pickups, which certainly for me, some of my favourite single coils that you hear just because they sound like a Strat.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
I think that's probably the main selling point, because for anyone who's already played a Player Strat, Fender updated the pickups to have a nickel 5 single coils anyway. So rather than it being, I'm going to buy a Mexican Strat and instantly upgrade the pickups, they didn't need them. But these are custom shop Fat 50s are a step up again.
Yeah.
I think we've noticed that just from playing it in the shop. And as Keiran said already, this isn't a David Gilmour signature. It's not supposed to be a David Gilmour signature. We have limited options when we talk to Fender about what we can and can't do with an FSR.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, for example,
you get a little peek behind the curtain, everyone. Just like as well, right?
You know, David Gilmour famously has a really short tremolo arm. We didn't do anything like that because it wasn't an option. The pickguard is a 3-ply pickguard rather than his 1-ply pickguard. But we're talking about showing a little bit of respect to the big man and just being like, you might want a really cool black and white Strat. This is a really cool black and white Strat. And it looks a bit like the Pink Floyd.
And it does look just a little bit like that. So our mission statement, I guess, today, because I was so inspired and my brain left much bigger after you teaching me all the Edge stuff. Teaching me, I'm not going to say it.
The U2 stuff.
The U2 stuff. We pulled this guitar out. And to pick your brain again, Ray, I wanted to get sort of your expertise, your research, your much more understanding, because confession time, I'm not the most well-versed in Pink Floyd stuff. I know the big hits. Everybody does.
You're an Eric Johnson guy. You're not a Gilmour guy.
Yeah. I'll talk to you all day about that stuff if you want to. But we decided to kind of pair up with a couple of pedals, see what the script is. You've got a couple of songs that are, I guess, would be quintessential tones from his sort of, obviously, history with that. And we're going to talk about them, and you're going to show me some cool sounds today.
Absolutely. And much like our attitude towards the FSR guitar being a kind of ballpark Gilmour situation, what we've done is we've picked from available pedals that are not necessarily exactly what David plays. And bearing in mind, I mean, fans of David Gilmour, they can get really quite specific about live gear versus studio gear, and you know, whether the black Strat had the rosewood neck on it because he changed it and all that kind of stuff. We're not going to go that far, but what we're doing is kind of like the man himself says. He said once that he could go and grab a few basic pedals and sound like him.
Yes.
And you know, well, we can't because we're not him, but we're going to get close. So here's what we've got, and going from guitar to amp, we've got a compressor, fuzz before the overdrive, the overdrive going into a phaser, which we chose out of a few modulation options, because it is quite famous for certain.
Cover kind of more bases. You were saying,
you can cheat it out a wee bit. There are certain times when Gilmour would use a univibe sort of sound, and we're going to just deal with the phaser today. And then for delay, you actually had that on your desk, and we thought, we'll go with the Echoplex because
it sounds great.
It sounds amazing. We don't need it to be tempo synced the way we did for the U2 one, but specifically, Pink Floyd aficionados will know that Gilmour in the early days used a Benson Echo Rec, and then moved on to using a bunch of the TC 22, is it 2290 delays, 2260?
Yes, the rack mounted guys.
Yeah. So what we want is a flavour of it.
Yes.
And he never has his delays too loud in the mix. So if we get a nice ambient sound, in fact, since the guitar is actually on...
Let's hear it. I'll turn the compressor off. We're hearing just the delay by itself.
Just the delay,
here,
okay. So if I was just to play a simple A minor...
E minor.
If I was to play a simple B flat, that'll be a D minor. Yeah, so what we've got is... We should also say that we're going into the Supro...
Black Magic,
and we do have a little bit of reverb on there.
Tiniest little bit. But again, this is kind of one of the things we wanted to show that obviously David Gilmour going through high watts and particularly a point that we'll touch on in just a moment that you were saying about volume being a huge thing. But we wanted to kind of show that you don't need to have bleeding ears, and also you don't need a particular sort of flavour of amp to get there, because this is just set up to clean, as Ray showed you just there. And if you can show again right now, it's just a kind of nice clean tone. There's nothing crazy going on, and in the room, as I said, it's not too loud. So pedals are going to be doing a lot of the kind of lifting today.
They are, and we've chosen them with respect to what David did, but we're also bearing in mind what Keiran mentioned earlier was volume for him, especially the classic stuff, The Wall, Dark Side of the Moon, all those kind of records. Volume is astonishing. You can read all about how loud he'd set his high watt amps, and high watts, for those who haven't used them before, they stay ridiculously clean. They've got so much headroom, and we don't really have the facility to do that here today, nor are we playing in Shea Stadium. So instead, we're going to maybe use a little bit of drive from the Blues Driver. And I picked the Blues Driver over other drive pedals because I think it's really effective at managing other pedals. It plays well with other pedals. It doesn't have that mid-range hump that a Tube Screamer might have. And because we're following Dave's example and having it after the fuzz, you'll see, it doesn't interfere, it just adds a wee flavour.
Yeah.
More significantly than that, I would say to get a good angle on Dave's sound, if you haven't used the compressor, I would most certainly recommend a compressor. And he uses one on his dirty signals, his fuzzy signals, and his clean signals. Which
you usually don't hear about. Like anybody telling you like the rules of guitar pedals, which we all know after a point there aren't really any, hence, the order of these.
Exactly.
And the compressor sort of trick and stuff like that. But people will always say, no, you keep it on your clean tone because dirty tones are already compressing enough.
They're already
as
compressing,
it is. But that's kind of part of the secret, I guess. Like that's part of the secret sauce that you go into it. So yeah, why don't we just dive right in, man, and let's just go with, I guess, the first song on your list.
Okay, so let's illustrate this very briefly. So we've got the Echoplex on already, playing a F sharp minor. This time.
You got it this time.
We're using this compressor that we're using is the Universal Audio, the 1176. And I just moved that there.
Which is based on their old rack unit, or old studio unit. So it's a very studio quality compressor with this pedal. And I mean, we immediately turned it on and just went, that sounds great.
Excellent. Excellent. Tips for this one, don't have it on too hard. It's always on, but it's not maxed out. You're not squashing your notes. You're just giving them a lift. Strats typically benefit from these because it gives you a wee bit of production, a wee bit of sustain. But we're going to be going for all kinds of sustain with these. So briefly, if I had one. Without and with. You're just getting more authority with the notes. And if you have time, then I'll maybe play you a little something here. Sorry. So we're going to keep the fuzz actually maxed out, just because that seems to be how Dave likes it himself.
That's also the best way to set a fuzz face as well, isn't it?
What else is there, right? It's on or it's off. Come on. And I tell you what, actually, Keiran, could I engage in your services?
Certainly.
I'm going to play a few measures from the time solo and see just after maybe a couple of notes. I'm going to have the fuzz face on. Could you just turn on the blues drive too?
Definitely.
As well.
Yeah, no worries.
So that we can see, what kind of difference it makes.
Easy.
All right. So let's go for this. I won't play the whole solo, but a little bit. And then back off. So without going through the whole solo, you could hear how much more squashed and how that change in tone occurs. And it's about David just getting that balance, because you think of his sound as being beautiful, but quite often it's quite fuzzy and gnarly.
Yeah,
It's in the middle of beautiful music, and that's why it sounds the way it sounds.
Especially being obviously the only guitarist for a lot of the songs.
Yeah.
You're wanting that to cut through, and you're wanting it to almost kind of like pick your ear up, and certainly with like a subtle overdrive there, that's not going to really cut through like big synth pads and all that sort of stuff as well.
Very true.
I particularly like the sound of that, because we were talking about this previously before as well, that putting an overdrive after a fuzz or after a heavy distortion has been a trick that I've sort of like stumbled across. Didn't invent it, obviously, but that I've stumbled across my own playing recently, because it does that. It gives it that sound characteristic that just is a little bit different, and it can cut through a mix, or it just gives you like that. Certainly took off all that kind of sharpness that you would expect on a fuzz face, and I mean you're already obviously adding a bunch of gain to it as well, which always helps.
Huge gain. And with the blues driver, we're going to use this in two different ways today. So the compressor stays on. The Echoplex is on, and to speak briefly about that, we're going for a delay time that's roughly about 300 milliseconds at the moment. There's no way of being entirely sure, but
you can tap tempo with this one particularly. If you do take out for anybody who does want to get like an exact, say for example, you're playing the song live or something, you can get that going.
You can do that there.
Yeah, for sure.
We're using the Echoplex much the way David does, which is for ambience today, and with the blues driver, so clean signal. Let me just put the neck pickup back on. I had the bridge pickup on for the time solo just so it was cutting through, but quite a lot of the time he's on the neck.
Cool.
We've got the gain pretty low here, and that's we were talking about before about volume.
Yes.
And how we don't have the Wembley Stadium volume, but if I just play a couple of little licks here without the blues driver and then put it on, see if I go. And then, yeah. We're not doing it necessarily for gain, it's just that little bit of hair.
Just a wee bit, almost like you've got your amp on that edge of breakup. Or as we've obviously mentioned in the video already, that's kind of what happens when you've got an amp that's like really cooking as well. You know, when you've got it up at that like proper loud volume, that's going to be the kind of response that you probably get.
Exactly. So, and it's worth bearing in mind that we're doing this kind of twofold. We're not doing this because we don't have the volume. We're doing this because it's helpful to us. But David does. It's normally, I think it's a Chandler tube driver or some version of tube driver. A few people have made that one that he does put afterwards. So we're following his guidelines here, but we're making a good use of the fact that we can just have that extra. That's by no means a distorted sound.
No,
really.
Not at all.
Yeah, sorry.
The Waza Craft blues driver that we're using today obviously isn't essential too. This was just one of the ones that we use because it's one of the ones that in the room, but we are just on the standard channel, so any of the normal blues driver pedals, particularly if you do want to go for this sort of setup, then this is going to sound exactly like this. The custom channel is just going to give you a little bit more gain obviously, if you do want to use that.
Is this the most underrated overdrive that money can buy from most guitar shops, but probably guitar? Is this underrated to a huge degree?
It's a huge question. I think so, because we're getting wildly off topic here as well, but this is what you want, isn't it? This is what you people want. But I think the fact that, because this is Blues Driver on it, I think that really plays into it. That people are like, it's a blues pedal, whatever. But
yeah,
I've turned this up pretty high, and it gets like kind of Marshall-y sort of stuff. It's really cool.
Let's take a second.
Why not?
Okay, bridge pickup. Yep.
I think that answers it. It is dreadfully underrated. Let us know if you think the Blues Driver's underrated in the comments, obviously.
Now, as an aside, as we were going along, the other reason for us to include the Blues Driver, see how we dialed the gain right up there? That would be to get closer to what I would determine as being the more modern day David Gilmour lead sound. He only really used the fuzzy pedals in your classic Pink Floyd stuff like The Wall and on Dark Side of the Moon. These days he has just such a really rich, beautiful sound where volume again plays a big part. So if we were to look at like maybe Pulse, something like that, you're not necessarily going to be hearing too much of the fuzz face.
Yeah.
You're going to be hearing lots of just like, expensive, beautiful tone. Right? And I, for my money, the Blues Driver can get you there without it sounding too specific, and I actually think that's a real benefit for that pedal.
Totally.
But moving on, we were going to look at some. Well, yeah, actually, let's try a little thing.
Yeah.
So, Comfortably Numb, very famous piece of David Gilmour guitar playing.
Yes.
It is one that requires. I think it was a Ram's Head Big Muff on the original recording. We didn't go for that because he does use a fuzz face as well, and we just thought, well, pick one, So
yeah,
we picked the fuzz face this time. I'm going to try a few of the licks from the solo just with the Blues Driver dimed.
Okay.
And then I'm going to, after a few of them, turn it back, but then turn on the fuzz face as well, and do pretty much the same thing, okay?
And we are keeping the compressor on for this entire thing as well.
Compressor is always on.
Always on.
Echoplex is always on.
Always on.
Okay, cool. And I want to be neck pickup. So, yes. Nice wee bit of harmonic feedback.
I heard that going on there. That was class.
Is it just me, or did that even sound cooler with just the Blues Driver?
So immediately, like the biggest thing when you turn that fuzz face on, it obviously gives you that like, here comes the guitar adjectives here as well, but chewy. Like
it does.
It felt thick, and obviously that's the whole thing of the fuzz face. Whereas like just using it on the Blues Driver, I kind of felt like, certainly for me anyway, the notes just had more room to articulate because they weren't being like drowned in like obviously distortion and fuzz and being thrown through two pedals at once there. So again, I guess it just shows the absolute versatility of the Blues Driver, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's turned into an advert for the Blues Driver.
I know, right?
If we keep that song in mind, because later on he does a legendary second solo, and I won't attempt all of that, but we'll take in a few notes.
Yeah.
He normally, on that particular, I believe it's an Electric Mistress flanger, it's always set just to have a bit of a sound. He doesn't go for the sweep necessarily with the flanger. We decided not to go for that, but I wonder if we just keep the phaser down. We haven't touched the phaser yet.
No, not
and
yet.
We go for the end solo. I wonder, could we try that same thing again? Could I employ you
to dime the gain on there for you?
Aye, or rather, switch him on after a few notes and turn this one back.
For sure.
You know, and we'll see what we get.
Yeah, let's do it.
And let's keep this guy on.
Nice.
So the other one, and I'm going to go to the bridge pickup, and it's in B, this one. So
do we want to actually, just before we do that as well, give us a little sound of the phaser? Just
on
by
its
itself
own?
to show what it's doing.
Yeah, it's
slow.
very
That one,
distinctly
yeah,
slow.
it's like we're not getting into whooshy territory
No,
there
it's
at all.
like a tonal filter.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, we went for the script one for this particular video, but the regular Phase 90, any other sort of phaser pedal, any other modulation pedal that isn't obviously like so obvious will get you in that territory for
Keep it
sure.
nice and slow.
Yeah, so let's get back with the blues driver.
Now, how did that fare? We were in a bridge pickup and we were in a different position, and we had the phaser.
Still gave, certainly to my ear, again there, it's given, again, that it's super pushed. You're adding in the EQ of the blues driver into the fuzz face, which giving it a nice sort of warm sound as well. But
Sure.
surprisingly, that is handling a lot of gain. Like
Yeah.
there's, when you start getting that really high up there,
It's doing alright, isn't it?
they're probably on par with each other in terms of their actual what you're getting. It's just a completely different.
It's like the size. It's like the sound goes from being like there to being like this.
Yeah,
all of a sudden,
absolutely, yeah. But no, I thought it sounded sick.
Interesting. Okay, well, we have a couple more for you. The obvious use of a Phase 90 for me is not actually a Phase 90. Apparently.
What?
What now? Ever since childhood, listening to Dark Side of the Moon, I always thought the beginning of Breathe was a Phase 90. Turns out it's a Univibe, apparently. Write in the comments if I'm incorrect.
There you go.
No, Univibe, a lot of people, because it has a switch that says chorus on it, think it's a chorus pedal. A Univibe apparently is still a phaser. That's a, extreme point of view.
We don't make the rules here, guys. Listen.
Do not shoot the messenger. So yeah, I mean, it's the easiest thing ever, but it's a lovely way to just show off the beautiful sound. Let's see if we can get the speed right. Now that's not bad. If we added a little bit more to that, like so, and kept the compressor on always.
Always keep the compressor on.
No.
Always keep the Echoplex on.
Always. What is probably the most famous 4 notes that David Gilmour has done as an arpeggio? Answer's on a postcard, but it sounds a bit like this. And of course, off with that, and we go back to the not particularly distorted blues driver, and you have the. So I reckon that's we're getting the sustain more because of the compressor than anything else.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's actually. Okay,
Yeah, let's try it.
right.
Yeah. Oh my
Without
god, you turned the compressor off.
I know. I did it. A couple of those little hanging on there.
Yeah.
getting so much more purchase with the note.
It's helping those notes to really stick out, especially like I certainly when you got a clean tone and you're up at that kind of duster end there, it can sort of like they can just peter out a little bit. Like it's not in any sort of like pathetic way, but it's certainly you can bend up and it'll sort of just like a little bit. Whereas throwing in a compressor and obviously that little hair of overdrive, you know, big tick for guitar adjective there as well. We've already had chewy and hair.
Oh, they're coming from you today. You've got them. You've got it.
But that really does obviously sort of accent those notes just a little bit, showing that obviously the compressor is just that kind of little secret.
It's doing a good job. And yes, entirely so. These layers of compression. Now, the last one that I want to show to the good people watching and to yourself, it's one that's going to maybe take advantage of all of the gain stages, since volume is gain, and it's going to take a wee bit of whammy barring as well. And it's one that you often get live with Floyd, but it's not such a well-known tune. It's called Sorrow, and it's a really good intro. Lots of fun. So I'll just play this one out for a bit. You can monkey with the drives as you see fit, but this is quite a kind of like full-on signal anyway.
Sweet.
Okay, so here we
the phaser
go.
on as well?
I don't want no phaser. Well, listen, see if you want the phaser.
I might turn it on anyway.
See if we did it. If we had it nice and low, that might be quite cool.
Cool, I'll try.
Okay.
Just like David used to do. That sounds so cool though. Can I just very quickly? I want to hear how that sounds with some humbuckers, and I also kind of want a shot of that as well because that sounded.
You've taken quite a shine to this little Ibanez, haven't you?
I do like this guitar certainly.
Right now, will I make a bad noise?
No, we're all good.
All as well.
We're professionals over here.
While you were doing that and setting yourself up, I should say that this is one of 3 that we've reordered. The FSRs. There are 2 others that might also have a similar type of inspiration involved with other artists. This is the one we chose today because I like David Gilmour, but you might want to check out the others, and who knows, there could be videos of those too.
Listen, if you want to see those as well, let us know down in the comments. You know what to do.
You know what to do.
But cool, so that's compressor and the Echoplex, which are always on. Sorry, I'm gonna just throw everything on here, see what happens. Thanks, that's all I wanted to do.
Loving it.
That was heaps of fun. Oh, that was so good. And again, not playing anything remotely David Gilmour, Pink Floyd-esque, but so hey,
it wasn't unlike it.
That shows you what you can do just with this pedal setup.
With some straightforward pedals, an FSR Player Series made in Mexico Stratocaster with custom shop pickups. We have brought ourselves into the big league with the prog rock legends. It feels good.
Listen, that's That's your first step, definitely.
Right.
Is the guitar, isn't it?
There could be more steps.
There's certainly lots more steps, but yeah, I mean, in terms of a guitar, it's obviously, it's a great player Strat.
Yeah.
Everybody loves them. They're your new sort of like standard series, I guess, for like the Mexican range of Fenders. But I think one of the cool things with these guitars, and especially the fact that because these are in our shops next to normal player Strats, even if you aren't, going for the whole homage thing, if you aren't going for the looks, if you aren't going for the inspiration, hearing these pickups compared to a standard set player series, even if it's not the sound you want, you get that reference for what custom shop pickups do.
You need to understand it, and you know no better way than playing it.
It's a huge difference to the guitar, and it's an upgrade that a lot of people want to kind of go for.
Yeah.
When they get a guitar, is they're like, oh, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change pickups.
Yeah.
This is already done.
And without checking the prices before we did this video, and therefore being liable to be telling lies, buying a regular, black and white player series Stratocaster with a maple board, buying a black pickguard, buying a set of fat 50s pickups, because you can do. I think that ends up costing more than just getting the guitar with it all. You make a wee saving doing it that way.
Certainly a lot more time as well, but
it's done right. It's done right. Installed by Fender.
Awesome. But yeah, that's kind of all you wanted to show me today in terms of sounds. We got there, didn't we?
We got there. I'm looking back here at my little lists, and we got Breathe, we got Shine, we got Comfortably Numb and Sorrow. We did it all.
I'm pretty sure you can get kind of any other ones that you would want as well that aren't obviously very specific, but
yeah, I mean, well, the settings we use today, you could generalize. You could swap out this for a Big Muff if you wanted, but I think we demonstrated today that it's like a fuzz and an Echoplex, or a fuzz and a delay will get you there. As long as that compressor's always on.
Always on.
And we didn't pick these because we particularly thought these are the ones we want to try and sell to you. We just thought these are great pedals. Yeah. And that is a lovely compressor.
It's really, really good. No, a big fan of that UA series, actually, their whole shoe stuff that came out. But regardless.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for joining me today, Ray. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Giving me more knowledge with tones. It's what we're all chasing after all.
Yes.
But obviously, let us know what you think down below about favourite Gilmour tones, what you think of the new FSRs, and if you haven't tried these out, because I very much implore you, and I think you do as well, to go at least get them in your hands and see how they sound, because they're spectacular guitars.
Yep, have an opinion on them for sure.
Yeah,
come in and say hi. We'll get the kettle on for you, and you get playing and see what you think.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But until next time, I've been Keiran.
I've been Ray.
Thanks very much. Have a great day. Bye bye.